I once heard when I was younger, and it didn't always make sense, but now I can see it, is that they said your network is your net worth.
So hey everyone, my name is Navan Kothari, and I'm here with Mr. John Ferguson, the Chief Human Resources Officer at NASCAR, who also has a variety of HR experience with the Washington Wizards, Washington Capitals, and Washington Mystics. How are you today, John?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here with you, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of your network.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for being here. So kind of going right into human resources. Human resources is a big part of any corporations, especially a large corporation such as NASCAR. So I was curious if you could touch a little bit upon what you do, your roles, your duties, what you do every day.
As the head of HR for NASCAR, I support the employee experience from start to finish, but I also contribute to the strategic business planning for the organization, because our greatest asset is our human capital. They're the people that help us do what we do day in and day out, and bring the excitement and momentum to our fan base. And then when I think about my purpose in an organization, for me personally and professionally, it's really connecting people with the opportunities they're looking to pursue in life. Because a lot of what we do, we spend a lot of time at work. So I want to make sure that your work can be a part of your purpose and your mission here in life. And so I want to make sure that we can connect people with those right opportunities.
Right, for sure. And this kind of goes into the next question. A huge part of what your role is, what your job is managing people, managing employees, interacting with employees. And that is part of what a lot of people want to do in their future, have those kind of management positions. So what do you feel like are some key aspects that are important when it comes to having a healthy and a positive management and leadership style?
Perfect. I love that you use the word healthy. I've been in my role now for just shy of maybe 10 months, but I use the word healthy to describe some of the goals I want to establish with the people that I work with, whether that's healthy habits or healthy processes, but healthy connections. And I think healthy makes it where it's not so polarizing, but I just want us to be healthy in this environment together. So I think one of the keys there is emotional intelligence. So that's sort of where your self-awareness, managing oneself, that's empathy, that's understanding someone else's feelings, understanding their perspective, but also extending grace. So when I think about probably the most challenging aspect of being a leader in an organization is managing people, because people are people. So guess what? You got to treat them like people.
Right.
And one of the greatest lessons I have learned in managing people is being a father. I have two daughters, and they both respond to feedback and style so differently. And so I apply that to the workplace, because how I may interact with you, Navan, is very different than how I may interact with someone else on my team. And so I have to be mindful that it's a one-to-one approach, and to make sure that I'm connecting with people in a way in which they receive feedback, but also in a way in which that elevates them. I think when you look at a good manager, they should have emotional intelligence, because they should also understand the difference between being a lid and being a cover. So if you're cooking and you put a lid on something, it sort of seals it up. And it's sort of confined into that space. You're really kind of controlling that environment. But if you're a cover, you're allowing that pot to boil as it needs to. It can release air, steam, but being a cover to your employees allows them to grow and develop their own skill set. So I think as a manager, our goal should be to be a cover. We want to support you. We want to give you guidance when needed. We also want to, at times, protect you if there's something that has transpired that may impact the business in different ways that maybe we didn't naturally intend to. So I think being flexible, being a cover versus a lid, and a lid could be comparable to being a micromanager. You want your employees to be able to develop their skills. And then the next I say, I love teaching. I think that's another part of being a good manager, teaching people, because I can give you the answer, or I can teach you how to find the answer. And if I'm able to teach you to be resourceful, you're going to go further in your career than you would if someone just always told you exactly what to do. It allows you to think critically about them.
Yeah. I like how you use that, little comparison with the lid and that cover, and how you touched about everyone is different, right? So leading one person might not work for someone else. So kind of knowing what's the best, and it goes into emotional intelligence. Everyone's different. What's going to work best for this person, how they can develop, and also not being, too strict with them. Like you can only do this, kind of giving them that freedom to develop themselves.
Correct.
Kind of moving right along, many people watching this or even listening to this, might be seeking out internships, new job opportunities. Maybe they are looking for a first job. With how the world is now, with growing technology and things, what may come in the future, what do you feel like are the best strategies for people to put themselves out there and seek the best job opportunities for them?
I think you have to be professionally persistent. I think the days of just sort of applying and just keeping your fingers crossed aren't always the most effective these days. You want to try to leverage your LinkedIn network. Everyone listening to this, you should have a LinkedIn profile. You should have the LinkedIn app on your phone because when you send that connection request, you should personalize that message so they have an idea of what you're looking to get out of this engagement. But I think the power of LinkedIn is that you can get access to people that may be in positions of having hiring authority in the organization. You're just trying to figure out how do you get your name to the top of that stack so at least you can get an interview. And then next, I would say, you may not expect me to say this, but the best internship advice, the best negotiation advice, the best job seeking advice, you can find it on TikTok. So get on TikTok, do hashtag HR interview prep, hashtag negotiation prep, hashtag where to find an internship. There's tons of free resources and valuable information that you can locate on TikTok that can help guide you in this path. But the next thing I would say, use Google too, internships in XYZ areas. So seek out the information and then leverage the power of your network to try to close the deal and get your foot in the door.
Or I think social media, right? People sometimes talk about the downsides, but the positive of it, you can really put yourself out there. Like you said, TikTok, you can use that to market yourself, to seek out other ways to market yourself, learn about what I can do to put myself out there in this position I want to be in.
Correct.
We talked a little bit about HR, but I kind of going to your education. You attended Furman University, completed undergrad there, had your MBA at Howard University. So I'm sure during those times you had to work on building connections, networking yourself, and you touched a little bit upon it with LinkedIn. So I was curious, in college, even right after college, what do you feel are the best strategies for networking, for building those types of connections?
I would say never meet a stranger. You never know where the next opportunity or next sort of open door is going to come to you from. So, even if you're an introvert, figure out those one-to-one settings that you feel comfortable in pursuing new relationships or connections with people. I once heard when I was younger, and it didn't always make sense, but now I can see it, is that they said your network is your net worth. And I really do think that relationships become increasingly important the higher you go in your career. So why not start that foundation right out of school so that you can get that return on the investment 5-10 years later?
Right. I think building those connections early on, some people are not sure how to do exactly, but having it early on really sets you apart as the years start to go and as you start to grow.
Correct.
So kind of going right back into sports. So when people talk about sports, most people think about the games, the players, the coaches, all those kind of things. But what often is not always talked about is the management, the employees, what we can maybe call the behind the scenes, because a lot of these sports organizations cannot run without that. In fact, all of them probably can't run without it. So what kind of motivated you? What inspired you to pursue this aspect of sports when it comes to management?
So I fell into sports. If we want to be honest, I was a poli-sci major in undergrad. So I say that to say, you have your undergraduate degree, but it doesn't mean that you have to go in that direction if you decide to explore something else in life. So it's okay. But I fell into sports. I was just looking for an HR manager role. And it just happened to be with a company called Monumental Sports and Entertainment. And from there, I've sort of never looked back, but I started my career in hospitality with Hyatt Hotels and then transitioned to the sports entertainment space. So it's been a fun and rewarding career, but I wasn't as intentional as I think some of my colleagues are that work in sports. Most people that you see in sports, they're kind of like, this has been a lifelong dream of mine. Yeah. And I can see why that is. But for me, my path was a little bit different.
It's great to see that, especially what you talked about in the beginning, where college students, I have a degree, a minor, and they're not sure I have to do this. But, sometimes you might find a class that you take and you're like, oh, maybe I want to try this. Mm-hmm. So, it's good to have that freedom with you, go into really what other path might fit for you and try different things. And further on the topic of sports, the sports marketing, sports management industry and HR, they have all been growing in the last 2-3 decades. So I'm curious to know, how do you feel like it's going to evolve in the future, and how has it changed in your time in this career?
I think there's been a lot of automation that we've seen specifically in the HR space, where some groups are leveraging artificial intelligence, automation of the recruiting process, which allows us to sometimes work smarter, leverage data to give us more data-driven outcomes and decisions. Yeah. But I would also say we've seen a big increase in just video interviewing technology. The fact that you and I are doing this Zoom, I think maybe 10 years ago, we would have thought about this a little bit differently. We probably been like, oh, we need to be in the same room or something way more complicated than this
Correct.
to achieve this outcome. And I think the biggest thing I've seen in the past couple of years that's really taken off has been the video interviewing technology, because it allows you to be where you are and allows greater access to opportunities that I think sometimes would have been closed off to people just based on proximity.
Yeah, for sure. And what you talked about earlier, the data analytics has really been growing. Data science is really growing, and seeing it be involved in HR, seeing in sports. Obviously they see it like, oh, the players might do this, but if you just look at the behind the action kind of it, data is driving anything. Kind of going to my next question, kind of just to wrap it up. Steering away from the education part of it. NASCAR is a primarily white-dominated industry, and they've been growing in the past couple of years, diversifying their culture, expanding their sport. So I'm curious to know, how do you feel your efforts and your experiences can help impact other people of color who are trying to rise into those management positions?
No, thank you for that. NASCAR is definitely on a journey that many of us in the United States are on. Right. Everyone is trying to increase representation of underrepresented groups. And I think me being here at NASCAR is a very visible way in telling that story in the direction that we're going to. I'm very proud to wear this logo because I know where we're headed. And when I think about that, me being here as a Black man allows other people of color, marginalized groups to know that they too can be here. And so one of the big things that we really focus on for me and my role is to make sure that our employment brand tells the story of where we're going. Because of course, various groups may think they know who NASCAR is and what we represent, but so much of that is continuously evolving, as we've seen many companies do across the United States and across the globe. And so I'm excited to bring people along on this journey with me because we have some really exciting things happening here at NASCAR. We just announced our next generation car, and then some of the moves that we took in 2020 are allowing us to see more people come to the track, more people come to the space. And so we're seeing our numbers increase. When we look at first time attendee data, pre-pandemic, it might have been the single digits. Now it's averaging 30 and 40%, double digits, first time attendees. So that lets you know that we have an influx of new people coming to NASCAR, and they're looking and they're looking different. But with that, we're able to grow the brand, and we're able to bring this excitement to other pockets that may not have seen themselves as a fan of the sport. So exciting time to be here. And I think my role really impacts that because I'm able to lead and manage our human capital. When you look at an organization, who we bring into the organization helps us grow and evolve. And the data already shows that the more diverse your team is, the greater, the return on the investments that you will see, but also stakeholder returns. You'll be able to do business better. You'll be able to innovate more. You'll be able to be more creative in the space. So we're excited for what the future holds and the direction that we're going in. And we're hopeful that this video reaches people who may not have thought about NASCAR in this way, but they will consider coming to a race so they can feel the excitement and momentum in person.
I know, going back to just that diverse culture, right? When you have different mindsets working together, everyone bringing in different ideas, that's where the creativity comes in. That's where innovation comes in. And that's where you're talking about the growth. You're talking about that 30, 40%. That's where it all comes in, when people are all thinking differently, all working together in such different ways. That's really how, NASCAR is already a large corporation, but you can keep going over and over again and kind of keep pursuing more audiences, more events, that kind of thing.
Correct. Nope, I agree. So all right, I owe you a trip to the track at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Work on that right after this. Yeah. Thank you for your time today, John, for your answers. It's great to see where NASCAR is headed. Great to see your journey and how people can take your experiences and use in their daily lives. Again, thank you for being here.
All right. I'm excited, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your audience. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.